in this house.
Hello, everybody. This is Sean from the Houses of Terror podcast. I'm only adding this part here because the conclusion of this episode had some audio issues. The whole episode is there, rest assured, but the conclusion statement for us is gone. So I just wanted to add that here to apologize and to assure you that you didn't miss anything if it ends abruptly. Thank you. Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Houses of Terror podcast. I'm Sean House.
And I'm Christian House. And we're opening up the door to all things horror.
Yes, we are. Okay. We're going to get a little weird with it today, I think. We were trying to listen to people's suggestions. We had a couple to choose from. And we decided to go with Skinamarink this time around, didn't we, Chris?
Yeah, we did.
Heck yeah. Just for future reference, we do keep wanting to do that as best we can. So please keep suggesting because that's what makes it. Yeah, that's what makes it horror fun. I have never watched this movie.
Neither have I.
All right, there you go. You giving us suggestions only makes our arsenal even better and makes us more qualified to even speak on these things. So greatly appreciated. Keep it up. Yeah, there's that. All right. So now we'll actually dig into Skinamarink. We'll do a little bit of a spoiler-free version maybe in the beginning, and then I don't think it's going to run the same way we normally do. Typically, we do a little more just linear, and I feel like this one, because of how much doesn't happen, and then things do happen. So I think we're just going to kind of delve more into maybe just specific moments, plus maybe what they might be interpreted as, or what have you. Just, it's a pretty complex movie overall.
Yeah, that's it, kind of.
All right, Chris, we'll start with you. Let's start with you. What do you think?
I rated the movie a 2.
Yeah.
I'm doing it based off, I have really bad ADHD. And first thing that I saw was the static in the cameras, and it drew my mind in every other place. And I didn't pay attention as much as I typically do because of that reason, because I have, like I said, I really have really bad ADHD. So if I see one thing move, I'm following it, and then it's just a very complicated thing. Yeah, I didn't really like the static or the static sound. Either of those really drove me insane. And it's an hour and 40 minutes, and an hour and 40 minutes of all that, just too long torture for me. There is some scenes on there that I do enjoy, but most of the time of it just being static, I can't do it. It was really hard.
Hey, there's nothing wrong with that, having a preference in it. I will preface my response to your explanation after. I'm going to just start with, I think this is a very good atmospheric movie. We watched it together and we did not watch it at night. And this feels like very at night, very late, maybe even light rain. Feels like a very you need the settings right to make the movie feel that much better. I'm not going to say it had creepy moments. And I do think overall, it's very kind of unnerving. It has everything I like in a movie, like a horror movie. Overall, I just think the vibe was wrong for what we set up, kind of thing.
Yeah.
For instance, your girlfriend was here as well, and she thought it was Sinners we were going to watch together. Yeah. So immediately we're setting off the wrong movie and everything. It's a very different energy, I think. Obviously, Sinners is very different. We'll talk about that as well.
Yeah.
Soon. But I think with that said, I rated it. I did originally we talked about answer like we always do. I gave it a 4.5, but I think I wanted to move to either a 5 or a 5.5. I think I'm gonna be in the middle and go to a 5 straight halfway. I don't think I want to argue necessarily that this movie was particularly amazing, but I do want to say I think there was just a lot of the vibe was off for what we were doing for our watch. And honestly, my biggest gripe here is the staticky sound, or the static and the staticky sound. I get it. We talked about with Dead Silence, with the whole, I hated the blue filter and it bothered me. So I get it. Something could just be fundamentally wrong with the movie's anything. It could just set the tone off for anyone. Me, I just felt it was just a tad too long. I think especially in the beginning shots when there's not anything happening yet and there's no tension there yet, it just lingered on walls for an extremely long time. Yeah. I know you're supposed to immediately go to dread mode with the children. I get that. I don't get that. But I think personally, also because of the environment we were in, I just think I was just, okay, but when are we getting to when things are actually happening? If that makes sense.
Well, that was the main thing with me. It was a lot of the walls and the window scenes. It mainly took a course of my ADHD of not so much going on that my mind always thought about something differently. Like how ADHD works is pretty much, it's like a mind game thing. And if I can't physically, if there's so much going on in a movie, that's why I'm so good at watching movies, because I can look around my surroundings and watch the screen and be so good at it But right now, with nothing barely going
It's just a
on,
corner of a wall.
it's
Yeah.
front of a wall. My mind thing like does other things. Like it will just think about different things, or it will just find reasons to look at something. And the static thing made that worse because it made it seem like everything was moving at the time.
Yeah.
So the static thing will make one little bit move, and then a smaller move. And I'm always looking around the movie instead of where I need to look at.
Yeah.
Pretty much.
Honestly, it's pretty cool that you're able to see that, because for me personally, I often struggle with what I don't like about things, or if I notice it's hard for me to identify that kind of thing of like, okay, what particular thing is this? Sometimes it's blaring obvious, like I said, the blue filter.
No.
I'll always go back to that.
The
It's
blue
like it's
filter
very
was-
obvious for me. I did not like that. But I get what you're saying about the staticky thing and the green. Like after the movie, I feel like I had a grainy sound just because of the camera running the
Yeah.
whole time, if that makes sense. And that to me was just slightly bothering. And it could have been just unnerving while watching. It just like a lingering effect. Like I said, I think this movie is better than the way I'm rating it if I were to watch it differently, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
In my opinion, that's how I feel. I just think I watched it at a different time than needed, a different environment, that kind of thing. And I think that played a very strong role in how I felt about it. So I think another rewatch might be in my future kind of soon, because I don't want to say, oh, I want to like this movie, but I do want to give it its fair shake.
Yeah.
If that makes sense. I understand where you're coming from, and if I were in your shoes, I would never touch the movie again. If it bothered you that much, that's fair. I think
it bothered me really bad with that. And like I said, I'm not specifically saying this is a bad movie. That is the main reason why I gave it a 2, was because for an hour and 40 minutes, you were in hell the whole time with looking at random things or the sound in my ear. And it was just more of a hell than entertainment for me. Don't get me wrong, some scenes does make me, and we're going to get into it, it's going to make me wonder, make me think. But at the same time, I did give it a 2. Maybe at the end, depending on how I feel at the end, I'll probably boost it up depending on how much we talk about it and how deep we get into it.
yeah, okay. We'll hop into more for the non-spoiler. The non-spoiler version. We'll nail some more stuff out of the park for that maybe. Scare level, I did the average of my scares that I had. I tried to do just a quick math average for myself. I gave it a 4.5. I don't think there's particularly anything, I don't think there's anything particular scary necessarily, more of an unnerving feeling. And maybe I should contribute that fact in the scare level, because I do feel like it would have been more, like I said, I think it's an atmospheric thing. If I was in the right environment, I feel like if this was late at night and I was just laying in bed and it was like 12:30 at night and I was like, I'm still going to get to a movie tonight before I go to sleep or something on a Saturday, and I had this movie on, I feel like it would be just so different. I would feel it all around. That feeling of like eyes around you is like something looking at you.
Staring at you. Yeah,
and you're looking around. What is doing it? I feel like that would have been me in this moment. But once again,
the timing was off.
Yeah, I wanted to say, just for the viewers, especially for other people recommended it to us in person and on our channel, as in comments. I promised, I pledged to give it a much fairer shot. I will rewatch it, and I won't get on here, of course, or anything, because we're doing this together. But I will give it a fairer shot at the right time and environment. I'm just going off of what I have right now, and I think that's fair to do, but also unfair to the people who really like this movie, because I understand where you're coming from. I just feel like I was just in a different spot than I was supposed to be. It's a temporary rating for me more than anything. Christian, I understand where you have your more permanent level, temporary rating. So when you hear my numbers, think he's rewatching this. Maybe there's more accurate numbers in the future.
I gave my scare level a 4. There's more, there is some jump scares to do it, and we're going to get into it, but there is some jump scares that got me a little bit, but I think it was mainly more with the environment of what's happening in the movie. It was more creepy than scary, which creepy is still scary, but it's still what me and Sean does differently. I like jump scares. Sean likes the other.
Yeah, I like the creepy stuff.
I'm more like, I like the jump scares. I like to cover my eyes, and I like to be afraid of things. And this movie did that to me as much as I liked it to, but the creepiness and the environment still gave it a 4.
I will say, I think also, at least for the most part, I feel like these jump scares were earned.
Yeah,
a lot of movies, they do the cheap out like in the beginning of the movie and they close a door or something there or something. And it gets some people because they do a lot of noise behind it, and it literally affects your brain neurotically. Like it affects you in a way that you cannot avoid. So they're not earned. They're just doing a loud sound in your ear and you have to react. That's what your body's programmed to do. These ones I felt were all earned. They led up to the moment, the crescendo, and then they gave it to you or they didn't, depending on what they wanted to do.
And it wasn't like I know it's coming type thing either. It wasn't a moment where, I know this jump scare is coming. It never was like that to me. It surprised me.
Moments I felt like they were definitely coming. But sometimes I thought they would show a doorway and I thought for sure it was coming and then they just wouldn't show it.
Yeah.
They wouldn't do anything. They'd just be an open doorway in the black hallway. And then after about 30 seconds, and then it's just they move away and it's like, oh, nothing happened.
Yeah.
So I feel like at the very least, these scares were, I don't necessarily say I was like, oh, I was scared. But once again, I think the environment was just wrong for that. But I will say, I think everything about the horror aspect was earned throughout the movie. And I think one of my favorite parts about this movie in general is just the fact that I felt like I was watching a horror movie the whole time. I felt like I wasn't like here for a quick scare and then that. Like I felt the whole time the uneasiness just a very low amount as compared to if I watched it by myself or something, maybe a little bit higher. All right. So next thing on our little cheat sheet is the rating, the story, the lore kind of aspect to it. I think this is incredibly hard. I gave it a low initially when I first did it, but I think I'm going to increase it because the way I was looking at it was, okay, but there is that. But then I went back and looked at it and I appreciated that a lot. I actually appreciate the fact that not two people could say the same thing about the story. They could, but you can easily debate critically scene by scene about what the story means. So I think instead, I'm actually going to boost it up a lot. I think I'm going to go straight. I originally had a 2.5 or something like that. I'm actually going to boost it to an 8.5 for me.
Okay.
Because, like I said, not because of what they show, but because of what they make us feel. Like the whole time you are looking at it in your own lens. You're looking at it, what these things mean to you, what the trauma could be for you or whatnot, not necessarily what they're trying to tell, what you interpret kind of thing.
So I'm gonna be in the same boat as you. Like we talked about it after watching it anyways, and I had another one because I didn't know the meaning. We just watched it as a scary movie, but actually there was a meaning behind it, and then I'm gonna boost mine up to a 6.5.
Okay.
Because, like I said, there is a meaning to it. I'm more of a Hollywood horror, so I don't really get meanings. I just like it I like the scare. But this is the first movie I actually watched with a meaning, and yeah, the meeting was there and it wasn't there. And there was so much to talk about that meeting that it's so hard to describe what it actually is because it could be a lot of different things. But the way that I thought about it and the way that I realized it, I'm boosted up to a 6.5. I think the lore is pretty solid now because it's anything. It could pretty much be anything. It could be one specific thing. It could be a million other things.
Yeah, I mean, there's a debate whether it was even like a thing. Like I've seen debates even. I've looked it up obviously afterward. Not, oh, I want to know what this means. But like I said, like, I looked at it as, okay, this is my kind of interpretation of the movie a little bit. Okay, how other people, because once again, this movie is not clear. I wanted this. Let's check out. My original theory was influenced by one of my friends. He suggested like a child abuse and stuff like that. And I was like, that fits very well. And then I was trying to look at all of it together differently and just put my own spin and my own thought process into it. And I came up with a different kind of solution for myself that's slightly different. But once again, I could see where they're coming from that. And then once again, I was excited to see. The thing about this movie overall is that I like that this creates so much discussion. It's not even about the movie. The movie feels so unimportant. It's like the conversation that comes after it, if that makes sense.
Yeah,
like what you can talk about, what it means to you. Like this movie feels more like a discussion rather than a movie.
Yeah, that's what it was hard for me to understand throughout watching it. We started talking about it today. We talked about it. And when we watched the movie, we talked about it at the end. And I started realizing that there's the movie wasn't just a movie. It was more than a movie. Like it could be a kid's nightmare. That's what I thought it was.
Yeah.
In the movie, I thought it was just a little kid's nightmare. He just going through a thing. And then I started seeing more of the story behind it and what was going on with the kids and stuff like that. So yeah, I think I really agree with so much that this can be like a child abuse. I was thinking neglect. I was thinking a lot of things like abusive dad with the mom. I just thought a bunch of different things about it.
Yeah, that's fair. Maybe we'll share before we actually dive in. We'll share what we think it might mean, and then maybe throw in a couple ideas we've heard online too. Then we can go we'll go into the actual like spoiler section a little bit and maybe explore that. Okay, so we'll do a phobia warning too, though. We might as well do that while we're here.
I did kid harm.
Child harm.
Yeah,
that's fair.
You don't see it. You don't see it on screen, but it does initiate it. It does say, hey, do this, and the kid does it.
Yeah, he definitely has a discussion about how he did it. There's all, like I said, be interpreted as child abuse. That's like the movie.
Yeah.
That could literally just be them. If you interpret that way, that could be what you interpret this movie as. And that means that's literally the theme of the movie. But yeah, I can agree with that. I also put like flashing lights. There's a couple scenes where it's just right in your face, not necessarily phobia, just saying in general, look out for that kind of thing, especially for people who have a seizure or something. That could be an issue. But regardless, it could be bothersome for some.
I was also thinking as well with ADHD, be very careful with this. Because I'm not saying you're not going to enjoy the movie because there's a possibility you could. But I'm saying like my mind was going 1,000 miles a second with that movie. It was very hard to concentrate on it. It was very hard to keep afloat with it. I got over it, but I got done with it. Thank God I finished the full movie. But it's very slow, steady when it comes to that. And
yeah, maybe not.
Us ADHD people are not. We don't slow and steady. We go where it should, and it's.
Yeah, that's fair. So maybe not necessarily a phobia warning, but more of
that's not phobia warning.
Right, this movie, if you're ADHD, it might not be for you. I also put static sound. Like I said, I think it's mostly came for after. It felt like a lingering, and maybe that's okay with you. But I also, like I said, not a phobia, just like an effect that I felt afterwards of just ringing in your ear almost, and just ringing in your ear. There we go, and it just goes. And I'm not a fan of that kind of thing necessarily. It bothers me.
And there is some typical scary movie stuff like blood. There's some scares and stuff, but that's really not for
You're here for a horror movie.
Yeah, you're here for more horror movie. You're gonna get those. I still wanted to bring it up just to be safe.
Always. No, by all means. All right. Yeah. Do we want to do recommendations now or we're going to do it later?
We can do it later.
Okay. Yeah. Good point. All right. So before we dive in, as promised, maybe we'll do a quick little interpretation, cool and personal, and maybe throw out a couple ideas. Or maybe we should.
I think we should just do personal.
Do personal? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so we'll just do a personal, and maybe we'll do out the movie. We'll explain that and also compare it all.
Yeah.
And then you want to hear that discussion? Cool. If not, you got our own personal, and it's cool.
Yeah.
I'll let you go first, since you elaborate a little bit earlier.
Yeah. So I was thinking it more between like child neglect or child abuse, because there is some scenes in there that makes it seem like either the mother or the father was abusing the kids. And I also thought as well of dad harming mom. There was some scenes in that as well. I thought mainly for the neglect because you only see the two kids the whole movie. You do see the mother on the bed, like some scenes you do see both parents, but mainly it's the two kids, and then even one of them is gone. It's just one of the kids. So and the youngest one is there by itself type thing. And there's like a stranger's voice, and you hear other people's voices besides the kids. So there's clearly something going on with his brain that so it's real for him. Like it's real in real time for him, or it's in a dream or a nightmare, and he's living through it while in a concussion or something. Because I'm thinking it's neglect and child abuse. I think the kid is just living through it.
Okay. All right. So, like I said, I got that vibe, understanding too. Like I said, I didn't want to put my own idea after watching the movie and seeing how open-ended it is. I more interpreted it as not particularly that, because I believe that could be that, but more of a discussion of just like child fear as itself, like what traumatized you as a kid, or what, like that kind of discussion of it's everything that a kid would fear all wrapped in one. The lights are going out. There's alone. There's like a million things of, to me, it feels more of like a discussion of a child's fear just manifesting itself in every capacity. How we got there, I'm not sure. Like I said, I don't even want to argue that there is or is not an entity of some kind that's like controlling it, because I honestly couldn't tell you, because this movie is so open-ended that maybe there's just something here, and maybe it's just like some nightmare type situation. Or maybe I've heard this theory online a little bit, and I melded with it a little bit. I think it's a good idea, because there's a lot of stuff about the mom. Maybe there's mental health issues with the mom. And maybe the dad had to take the mom somewhere or something like that. And he just chose to be like, I can't bring the kid for whatever reason, or something along those lines. I'm not saying that's a necessarily great explanation, but maybe they were left at home for whatever reason.
Yeah.
And when they were left at home, that's when this all occurs. Like maybe not even none of it's real. It's just they're afraid at home. And I don't know, because once again, that doesn't make much sense, because the door could just be open. Why are they just imagining the door being gone? Yeah. That kind of thing. So I have no idea necessarily what the real answer is. Obviously, no one knows, but I think it's really cool that you put your own ideas in there. I think mine is just, like I said, not interpreting how we got there just for the ride. It's just a manifestation of child fear. Yeah. Just every single possible like standard fear or traumatizing event all rolled up in one, just for the kid. We're seeing that for ourselves, seeing that for ourselves, by ourselves, in ourselves kind of thing, all into what's in the one, and this other kid that's not us. And I feel like that's why they put a boy and a girl, because it's like everyone, it's not even like a, like you, everyone can relate to their inner child kind of thing and get
Yeah.
into the child's mindset of like, why is this terrifying?
And I was thinking the entity because, like I said, there is good for it as stands for the entity because there is like creepy voices. There's those still scares that seem like ghosts. There's still like ghost scares that seem, oh, it could be a ghost in this house that's making things disappear and stuff like that. But I don't want to get too much into it because I don't want to spoil it. But you have anything to add on?
I think we can just move into maybe our actual spoiler audition now. Like I said, I don't think it's going to go linearly. I think we're just going to talk about it more and just maybe we'll talk about quick, like, oh, this happened, you know, this happened. Maybe we won't talk about that as much and we'll just dive in more into what we actually want to talk about for the scene kind of thing. Maybe, I don't know. This one's so hard to do in order.
This, I tell you right now, most of this movie, and I'm not crapping on this movie, most of this movie is switching to door to window, the door to wall. So there isn't really enough scenes here to actually describe a lot of it. But the story and each themes in the scene, but we can still put a good chunk of story into it.
Yeah, we're just going to do the story as a whole and maybe just back up our points a little bit. We'll still try to go in the fashion that they appear and this happens first.
Yeah.
But I think we're probably gonna miss something and we might even go back to it and that's okay. I feel like if we forget about it and then we're talking about later about, oh, the evidence might be in this too. I feel like that's perfectly valid because once again, this movie it's more of an artsy piece. This isn't mainstream necessarily. It's just a concept of the artist kind of thing.
It's not a Hollywood horror. It's not Conjuring or something. It's its own category of horror and it fits in pretty well.
Yeah. You know? So if you're into that, this is the right movie.
Yeah.
If you absolutely think that's a horrid idea, fair enough. I think always try things if you haven't tried it. But if you've already even tried that genre type style of movie and you just don't like it, I don't think this necessarily will do it for you. So I'm not arguing to do it. This definitely is like not necessarily a third eye, but you have to
you have to really pay attention.
It's like a homework kind of movie. It's like you get your thoughts and then it's okay, what does that mean? And then you like maybe look up or talk to somebody about it and figure it out. All right, let's hop in that. So that's the spoiler-free version. If you're gonna go watch it and then come back, please join us again and hear what we got to say and leave comments about what you think. Whatever, make them 1,000,000 pages long. I'll still read them. Oh, why not? And if you're not watching it and you just want to hear a little bit of deets, maybe the scary parts, then stick around and just listen in. Why not? You get the whole plot in way less time.
Yeah.
All right. So we started up. What do you think?
I got it when we start up to where the kid falls down the stairs.
Yeah, I think that's really the biggest opening.
So what I was thinking for like a coma type thing is I think this is how it starts. The kid falls to the stairs. The dad comes in, hey, like, and calls somebody. I don't know who it is. And hey, he hit his head. I was personally thinking it was the mom, but then I thought something different. I don't know, maybe like an ambulance or the hospital, like, hey, my son, he fell and hit his head.
Yeah, I honestly, at first I thought mom, and I continued to think mom from later scenes about like maybe the bedroom scene and like this separated divorce and he's just doing that. And part of me still feels like that's there. Then I also think if you're going to the abuse side of things, maybe he's just contacting like a teacher, or maybe like he just reason why he couldn't go to school, or a principal,
or a therapist,
or a therapist, maybe even.
And I think that like he actually hit his head and got a concussion, and then he's just living out his past trauma with his dad and his mom and his sister and stuff, and that he's living through it now. That's why there's so much going on with a 4-year-old, being a little kid. You're not gonna be all over the place. You're gonna look at certain things, and that's probably why he sees the walls and the doors and the windows and stuff. Is because that's mainly what kids don't. Those young kids aren't gonna run around and go outside and play and stuff. They're pretty still young, so they're still gonna be a little less mobile.
He's 4, so he's probably pretty mobile. I think I feel like the intention of those scenes, other than just being eerie and creepy, you're not focused, because that's how they're getting you right. They want those shots to be like a little off track for where you normally would look in a room, because they want you to be like, what's happening in there? I feel like that's supposed to be in itself a little frightening. And it might be like, it might be intentional, like maybe a kid is just looking around or that kind of thing. It's almost like when you are recording something and then you're like, oh crap, and then you put it down and it's just got like a shot on like a wall for a little bit.
Yeah.
Go do something real quick and then you come back and then it's like that kind of thing. Really, the camera's not placed where you think it would be placed or anything like that. And I think that's intentional for sure. 100%. For sure.
I'm sorry. No. But the only thing that mattered, like the only thing that like stuck in my head with it is why, if the abusive side of it is, let's say it is child abuse and the kid does fall, why was the dad like he was more concerned than the average eye. Like, why is he more concerned about it than he should have been?
Could have been faking it.
Yeah, he could have been
That's
taking
very
it.
common.
He straight up was just, he hit his head. He's fine. He just need,
Yeah, and that's
just needs stitches or something, whatever.
that's what an abusive person would do. They would be like, it's not a, they would downplay it. They would deflect into.
Yeah.
So that does fit. That's I think is one of the most compelling discussion points of the abuse angle. I think is that beginning conversation with the dad. I think that does set a certain tone. Once again, I feel like this movie does not want a specific
No, I think it goes
solution.
in so many directions.
So I think it's just doing it there so you can put yourself in that brain of, so certain people who do face that trauma and stuff like that may put themselves in a situation of, oh, I've seen this before. This is an abusive household.
Yeah.
Whereas like an old person might think he even fell down the stairs. Maybe he's, like you said, he just went into a coma.
Yeah.
It's like that has nothing to do with the abusive factor. Maybe like some people just maybe think, oh, this is how the story's being told. He's actually in a coma, or maybe he's got a good question from. You know what I'm saying? So it immediately makes it like there's multiple paths.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know how to watch this movie. And I think that's very intentional. They want you to pick a path and start going down it. And yeah, you could lead it back into that one if maybe that, like I said, it's so non-linear. It's a movie of thought. And
yeah, it takes it
discussion
off
and not about plot, if that makes sense. So yeah, I agree with that. I see your point on it. I don't, like I said, I think if you interpret that way, that's totally fair. I think it's a very fair interpretation. In fact, like I said, I see it as one of the very more solid interpretations of the movie. I'm not arguing that. I almost want to relate it to, if not him, but maybe the mom did something, because the mom, like for later, they bring up mom and he discusses dad, no problem. Kaylee does. So by the way, the kids' names are Kaylee and Kevin.
Yeah.
Mom and dad not named. So
yeah, we call it.
So Kaylee, Kevin are the two. There's Kevin's 4, Kaylee's 6, older sister. Kevin talks about dad being gone, and it's like a discussion, like, oh, where's dad? And then Kevin asks about mom, and Kaylee says, I don't want to talk about mom.
Yeah.
And to me, that feels more either something like negative happens for her, like in some abusive situation, or something as bad as happening with mom currently, or something like, if that makes sense. I feel, and it relates, once again, we're not linear. It relates a little bit to later with the bedroom scene, and I won't go into that detail because I want to discuss that way more in detail later.
Yeah.
But it doesn't, like, both parents feel off, but the scary components feel like it's supposed to be mom. If that makes sense. Like in the beginning, it's supposed to be dad for sure.
You know, yeah, in the beginning, they pinpointed right straight. Oh, dad's talking on the phone about him hitting his head type thing. But then right after that, we stopped hearing about dad for the longest time.
Yeah.
We only get one scene of the dad doing remotely anything. And then after that, like straight up to the point where it's just specifically mom.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if that's necessarily true. I think it discusses both of them pretty equally because dad's in that scene with mom. So it's like both of them are there. It's going to be a troublesome going back and forth. It's okay. There's no right answer. So don't think I'm ever, to us fans who are Christian, straight. I'm not challenging you to be like, oh, like you're wrong. I'm just talking out loud saying like that doesn't control the there. What happens next, Christian? Where you at, brother? Look at your notes.
Yeah.
Yeah. So there's like the grainy cam, like I said, there's Legos everywhere. It's just almost set up like they're doing the whole intro stuff. Yeah. I think they hear a kid crying. I have crying kid. So I think there's a kid crying. There's drive away. So someone's driving away. What's going to
be dad leaving for him.
Yeah. Maybe a good interpretation of the scene is maybe there is like some kind of abusive relationship with mom and dad, and maybe dad's gone right now and the drive away is mom.
Yeah.
Maybe mom was leaves them at both at the house and she's just leaving.
Yeah,
and she doesn't take the kids, or like doesn't want the kids, or too fearful to take the kids. So dad's not home yet. And mom just left.
Sees the opportunity to leave.
Yeah, like maybe that's it. That's a pretty cool view of it. Maybe the abusive relationship is with all of them, but maybe the mom is escaping for whatever reason, not taking the kids. I don't know what the reason may be. Sometimes parents do just leave like that. Yeah, but yeah, so we get this agonizing slow of just like scene to the house and the TV clicks on, that kind of thing. And then we hear a man whisper Kaylee, and then that's when we really, I think it's like the person we hear her name, but for her name.
Yeah.
But anyway, that sets the tone. Actually, I think it's before the phone call even. It says I hear my notes, that's before the phone call. Oh, because that's dad going in there. That dad going to say hello, like saying something to Kaylee, like waking her up or whatever.
Yeah, then Kaylee's also going, hey, like dad, like search for, clearly trying to search for dad.
Yeah. And also I want to point out during the phone conversation about him falling downstairs, he says Kaylee said he was sleepwalking. Once again, going into that, like he's sleeping or whatever components, or
that also could be a lie.
Yeah, could just be like Kaylee said this. Like,
Yeah, you put it right on the daughter, and no one's going to be really questioning the father because
Yeah.
sleepwalking is just sleepwalking. So if he just says, "Hey, Kaylee said it was just sleepwalking,"
Yeah.
then instantly it's
Bro, but else could have set the tone. Maybe he's dreaming all this stuff and he's just moving around and doing what, living it up. I don't know. Once again, no solid explanation from us. Yeah. So Kaylee and Kevin, after the dad disappears, they go looking for him, and then the doors and windows, they're both.
yeah,
It's just like a weird sound.
Yeah,
So like
what
that.
is-
And then things are disappearing around them as they're walking around. So boom, the phone doesn't work us also, which plays a role later when the phone does work.
yeah. The front
So
does
it's
work.
like a phone doesn't work. So Kaylee and Kevin are, oh no. By the way, they have the sweetest, cutest voices in the world. You don't really see
Oh,
it
yeah,
too much.
they
They
do.
have the cutest kid voices ever.
Well, they
Like,
got this like
so
episode.
cute sounding. Oh, especially Kevin. He has like such a obviously cute kid voice. Yeah.
Then the cartoon pops up on the TV.
Yeah, I think I already caught that before. But yeah, the Kevin, they want to sleep downstairs. They sleep downstairs.
Yeah, they sleep
TV
downstairs.
comes on, yeah.
And the cartoon is mid. What did we discuss? Like 30s, 40s? I think they made.
I think most of them were in the 30s.
Yeah.
30s cartoons. They're like,
Oh, it was clearly a
like the funny
very-
one, this, for instance, I think is a Looney Tune one, if I remember correctly. Anyway, yeah, the public domain, they're like old.
Yeah, they're very old one.
Probably, obviously, to use it for free, but also hammer. It's a creepy vibe. Like the old
Yeah.
cartoons are creepy if you watch them now, especially at dark. Yeah, Kevin doesn't want to sleep with the lights on, and then they do the whole "I love you, Kaylee," and "I love you, Kevin," or
Yeah,
like that. Or
basically,
they just
I
say,
love
or
you,
no, I think
Kaylee.
it's just "I love you," and the other one goes, "I love you too."
Yeah.
It's like so cute. Once again, that's
It's
so cute.
clearly they are really connected as brothers and sisters.
Yeah, and so then we happen that they don't know what night and day is anymore. I think they wake up and they're like, I think it's time to wake up because
Yeah, because no
windows aren't
windows
there,
are
no light.
gone.
Yeah, so no way to see if it's day or night. So that's kind of sets up how the whole movie is going to be like that. But I think they show that it's night still throughout the movie. Actually, the camera colors are darker at night. Once again, we don't technically know.
Then they go up morning time, they wake up, they go upstairs, get some stuff for, I think it was like cereal or something they wanted to get, or toys or whatever.
Yeah,
Because
they
the
grab
toys-
toys. It's not, and the light. I remember the light falls out. The thing.
The light falls out, and then it starts flickering stuff, and then
Mhm.
clearly,
Because it was already out, and she's always up, puts it back in, comes back, and then it falls back out again.
Yeah.
So, like I said, this fear of darkness maybe is
yeah,
for Kaylee, because once again, Kevin's not afraid of dark. He already specified that he doesn't sleep with the light on. He doesn't like it. So therefore, if he doesn't sleep with the light on,
Yeah.
that means
he's not
afraid of dark. But Kaylee, I think that's just set the tone that Kaylee might be.
Yeah,
Like she's still afraid of dark.
and they're looking for dad again in the morning when they wake up.
And I think that contributes later too, just going for that explanation. Like you see other lights turn on, like in the kitchen, I think the light turn off on its own
Yeah,
and stuff. Like I said, if it's a fear manifestation, I think like the entity kind of thing, then I think that's a valid argument too, because he's targeting Kaylee and Kevin. And there are scenes where Kaylee is the only one in the scene. So I don't think it's just a Kevin dream, because that wouldn't make any sense.
No,
Because why
it
are
would
we
have to
getting
be both.
say bedroom scene like I mentioned earlier? That was strictly Kaylee. Kevin
Yeah.
asks about it, comes up and asks about it, or she goes down and he asks about it. Well, Kevin is not in that scene.
no,
You know,
it's
so
just-
it has to include both of them. How do you include both of them? Either the entity thing in this thing is real, or it's some kind of, I don't know, it's like some kind of
Manipulation.
manifestation
yeah.
of this kind of thing.
Then we get like some weird scratching at doors and stuff.
Yep.
They have weird scratching, flickering lights.
Yep, and then they have banging sounds too.
Yeah,
And they also have they ask about no one coming yet and stuff. And then they also have the chair floating. It's like upside down.
yeah. The chair's
on
upside
the
down.
floor. I think it's like this entity is an actual thing, whatever. Then this is showing its world manipulation. Like I said.
Yeah,
I think at the end we had to decide if the entity is even real or not. I think that's one of my biggest goals is to figure out if I interpret the story as the entity being like real.
it's a good solid of the entity because there's so much. Because he's like I said, he's attacking both of them.
Yeah.
Sort of showing the weakness of Kaylee with the lights, and eventually it turns on Kevin, and Kevin starts getting the same that
Yeah.
Kaylee gets.
They have a scene now where they talk about dad. This scene I was talking earlier, dad. They talk about dad, and then they have theories of why he's not home. And then once again, he brings up mom, and Kaylee shuts that down. Kaylee's, I don't want to talk about mom. That quote. So yeah,
And then like more things start disappearing. Like
toilet,
the
right?
toilet disappears, and
the
then
toilet was weird. I feel like
they bring in buckets to the tub, and I was like, that's weird why a toilet would disappear. But all right, that's cool.
they
Like
show the toilet and gone. And yeah, eventually they bring buckets and they slide the buckets in. Because that's after the bed thing. Because that's with the Barbie. And once again, this is.
Yeah, it goes to the toilet and then the
This is the
Barbie.
most argument I feel like for entity stuff because it just feels like it's bazoozoing. It's just messing with the mental capacity because yeah, he goes in, there's a Barbie on the bed, and I'm like, okay, and then he shows up. Like, I can't remember what's up in the wall, or like
I think it might be the doll that, like the shadow of the doll or something.
there was something else. I think there was something else on the wall, but I don't remember what it is. It doesn't really fully matter. I don't think. The pan's up, and then it pans down. And the bed is completely disappeared, and the Barbie's on the floor. And then that's when Kevin. And then once again, Kevin's not in the scene. This is a strictly Kaylee scare.
Yeah.
It seems to be impacting Kaylee first, like after her in this kind of if he's real. So Kevin still scares her basically as, hey Kaylee, and she's, what are you doing here? I told you to stay downstairs.
Yeah.
And then they bring the buckets in and boop, to cartoons. A lot of cartoons, skipping through creepy stuff, those TV and wall shots and stuff. Once again, going into those cool dark corridors where you think things that come out the corridors and they just don't. They just linger there for a while.
And then we get to the strange voice. Sounds like a woman telling Kaylee to come upstairs. And then she goes in the room and it's the mom sitting on the bed.
No, we skip the whole thing. Because
Oh.
that's when the dad is there. And he said,
Okay.
look under the bed. And he looks under the bed and looks back up and the dad's still there.
Yeah.
And then he says, check again.
And then she looks
And
down.
looks again. This is one of my favorite scares. That's why I wanted to make sure it was clear.
Yeah.
To me, this is my favorite. I think I rated like a 7 or an 8 because this was a very long shot of just, this is creepy. They're doing a good job with this. And she looks again, and then I think looks up and sees mom, and then looks over and dad's gone.
Yeah.
And then she's just basically, I can't remember what.
She's like, close your eyes.
That comes later, but she like has those. They start talking. There's like sounds and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And yeah, there's like a whole thing. They have to look under bed. I was just trying to see if they see anything. Oh, she says both parents love him. He said, Mom and Dad love you very much. So once again, this is why I'm like going more into the separation component.
Yeah.
And like the divorce, and once again, another fear for our kids, especially if their parents are going to divorce, how that kind of stuff works. That's why I said this feels like an art form that's describing child fear, rather than actually focusing on what the story might say, rather than want you to look at it your own way. Yeah, after that, there's some sounds, and there's another sound, like a discussion of another guy or something. She says something like, who is he? Or there's like some kind of interpretation of this another person there that's not, almost like an infidelity or something. Like,
Yeah.
So I can't remember exactly the scene, but I remember her saying either Kaylee or mom saying something that sounded very like there's someone else there with her.
Yeah.
And that's why like I got the closed eyes saying, oh, you're not supposed to see this. Close your eyes. You're not supposed to see me and this
Yeah.
other guy together because
That's what I was thinking too.
Yeah.
And if you close your eyes and then she's just gone.
yeah, they're gone.
And then you hear like the bones, like the cracking of the bones, and then
Yeah,
the
really
moaning.
creepy.
Clearly, the mom was moaning. I also heard that too. The mom moans,
Oh yeah, because it says there's someone here. Yeah, that's
Yeah.
what happened.
and then you hear like the bones cracking and shattering, and then
Then
like,
the hand pops out.
my favorite scare.
Yeah, I rated the whole thing up into that crescendo
Yeah.
moment. I felt like that scare. This is the thing I was saying about how earned these scares are.
Yeah,
I feel like that one was really well earned. It was a very creepy build the whole time. There was no all lingering shots. There wasn't like a full fast pace. There was
No,
a
they
full
told
like
it
30
to it.
seconds and the mom would respond, that kind of thing. Like it's very creepy the whole time.
yeah. Then the camera shoots to like the door that's wide open, that's pitch dark, and like a random hand just reaches out for the door frame and just cuts right off.
Yeah, it cuts and then she's with the brother again.
Yeah, and then she's back downstairs and just
Yeah, like this, we'll sit down with this kind of thing. Like I said, what are your thoughts about that? What do you think that means? Like I said, I personally want to say that's more supposed to be the fear of separation of like parents and stuff like that, what that could do to a relationship. Like I said, maybe that's a discussion of why mom left. Maybe she was having infidelity, whether the dad wasn't there, and signs and possibility of abuse, and maybe that's just she ran away with this other guy.
And it also
Maybe-
could count as entity as well.
Yeah, and it could just be like her sharing like the entities here, and the mom just close your eyes. You
Yeah.
know, like it's just
Okay, you're scared of it. Close your eyes type thing. She
Yeah.
opens it. Her mom's gone.
yeah.
Clearly, that jump scare clearly didn't look. It didn't look human to me.
Yeah.
It didn't look like person because it was pretty much just so fast and
Yeah.
the bone cracking. Why is there bone cracking?
Yeah. It's definitely like that. I think like a definitely creepy scene. And like I said, it could just be him. Maybe that's a scene that she's seen. Like Kaylee walked in that, like the infidelity or something like that in the past.
Yeah.
And now this entity is simply not almost in the creepiest way possible reenacting
Yeah, like
a
she make
traumatic
her
moment for her.
living
Like,
it. Yeah.
make her relive a moment that she saw her mom with another individual, or just her mom. So maybe on a mental illness realm, like maybe it's a moment of her mom's mental illness flaring up or something. Regardless, because she doesn't want to talk about her mom, Kaylee doesn't. So there has to be something there.
Yeah.
And they don't explain it. But that's again very intentional, I feel. It doesn't want to explain it because it wants you to relate and make your own connections. I've said that a million times. I'll say it a million times again. But I think it's important for the story. But yeah, okay. So it's fair. I'd say fair read. Yeah, because Kevin asked about upstairs, and there's like the deep breathing from Kaylee, like she's freaking out.
Yeah.
Like deep breathing, like panic breathing.
And the mom asked, but mom says, "Hey, Kevin's up here," type thing. Is that where you're at?
Oh, I have
with the mom talking again with her after the fact that she went downstairs with Kevin.
Oh yeah, I was just talking about when he got downstairs. She was like deep breathing.
Oh yeah,
everything. Because they got like I said, they got to the point where there's Legos being moved around, crumbling down the Legos.
Yeah.
Comes back to, we got, like I said, they're just creepy like that. There's the toys on the walls and the ceiling, kind of like Barbie earlier, with like things being put on the wall and stuff like that. Then that's when Kevin gets called in the basement. You there? Or are you further?
I was saying, what I see is when the mom calls for Kaylee again, she's like, "Hey, come upstairs, Kevin's up here," and she goes up there.
Yeah.
And then like that puts Kevin.
Yeah. Okay, I see what you're saying. Yeah. There's a scene where that happens, and Kevin's by himself for a tiny bit.
And then the voice,
Kevin's like, "Where's Kaylee?"
And the voice says, "Hey, Kaylee's up here."
No, he's in the basement.
Yeah, she's in the basement.
Yeah. So gets called for Kaylee. Kaylee disappears for a little bit. Kevin's by himself, eventually wondering where he is, where Kaylee is, but keeps doing his thing. And then, like he said, he gets called to the basement, and then it's a muffled Kaylee's calling. It's like a very muffled sound.
Yeah.
So he goes looking for her. And that's the next big scare. I feel like probably one of the biggest scares in the movie for people.
And I think this has a lot of meaning to it.
Okay, yeah, because they show the face and her eyes,
on her mouth.
They're all covered, presumably her ears. It's like her face is washed out. It's erased by an eraser. She doesn't have those prominent features.
Yeah, and I'm saying that has a lot of meaning because I think what that is, I think it's for the mother that potentially if Kaylee caught her with another person, she wants to silence her and keep her from, you didn't see that type thing.
Yeah.
So I think it portrays more of Kaylee as, okay, mom is cheating, I caught her type thing. So now I'm scared that mom's gonna shut me down, shut me out, make me not say anything and make it where I just lose all sight of it type thing.
Yeah, and then they also could do abuse factor. Maybe Kaylee sees some abuse a lot and is told to be quiet and shut that. Different ways. You're like forced from the silence, like it's the same concept. For her to be safe, she's gonna follow the rules of not hearing, seeing, keeping it all to herself.
Yeah.
I will just say for later, the entity says she didn't follow the rules, and that's why she's gonna take it away. Now, once again, the entity could just be this evil entity.
Yeah, entity says like, oh, you're
not listening, or just wants to torture Kevin or Kaylee or whatever, both.
Yeah, so I was trying to move forward. I
thought you're going to go like that same logic, following the rules. Like I said, maybe like you follow the rules by keeping quiet and forcing that on her. Like you need,
and that could be the dad's perspective.
Yeah, like or mom even or whatever. Yeah, whoever might be doing it. Point is, really creepy scene, really good. Like seeing her covered up. I don't think we see Kaylee again. I think that's the end of Kaylee.
I think you hear her. I don't think you see.
Yeah, I was going to point this out too. I don't know what you, but I think we can agree on that. I didn't put anything for deaths because this movie's entirety is so abstract that it could just mean, I don't think the logic of putting all this is their death because I don't know, and I don't think that's a fair rating to give. So I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to say they died because I don't know.
And like I said, it could be,
it could be a nightmare. Who knows?
It could be a nightmare. It could be
they just wake up at home with a loving home. Yeah. So I just think that's not fair to do. Do not think you see Kaylee again. Like I said, you might hear her again at some point, but you definitely don't see her. Like it said, the entity claims that she didn't follow the rules, and that's why he did that. And it's for Kevin. I think it's the end of Kaylee's story. That's like the hammer home to Kevin that he has to be following the rules.
I think what it was, I don't know if you have
He
to
has to
find
go
out.
to mom, right? Kaylee has to go with mom.
Yeah,
And that was the
Kaylee asked, I want mom. And
yeah, but she didn't actually. I don't think we hear that.
No,
The entity sends.
Yeah,
she asked for mom.
Yeah, she asked for a mom, so I had her take her lips, or her mouth shut, or something like that.
She says that. I think he just says he didn't follow the rules. He asked for mom, that kind of thing. He could have. I don't remember. I'm not saying he did or didn't. I'm just saying I
Yeah, I
thought.
just wanted to make sure. I just want to get it correct.
Yeah. Regardless, so once again, that kind of goes a little bit maybe to the dad. Maybe they separated, and the dad is this abusive person or what have you. And it's like you asked to go with your mom, and then maybe he killed her, or maybe there's signs of further abuse towards her because she has to leave to go with mom.
Oh yeah, I have that thing, but it's rated down.
Yeah, like I said, we can jump around. That's not a big deal. I think if we want to convey our points, I think the only way we can do that is by saying this is why. Say it later.
Yeah, I was thinking more entity as well. I was thinking more abuse as well because I think Kevin at this point is scared of and deeply listens to commands because a strange voice told him to cut himself with a knife in his eye.
Yep,
And he does it.
Yeah, he does it.
Like regardless of
We don't see it, but he does it. I think we hear some crying, and the blood goes over the cabinet. Like it shows like blood splattering on the cabinet.
Yeah.
So it's like he stabbed himself as our time.
So like it's either abuse. I'm thinking this much into the movie, I'm thinking entity or I'm thinking child abuse.
Yeah, child abuse.
Just because like if you were constantly getting abused, and I don't like bringing this up because of stuff. If you're getting abused and that person that's abusing you gives you a command, you're gonna listen to that command.
Yeah.
Because especially at an age of 4, now you're getting abused and let's say your mom like, hey, do this. You're not
gonna try to follow the rules. Yeah,
you're gonna do it. I'm thinking either child abuse, the entity side is he's taking over him. He's like, like you do this and you won't. Same thing won't happen. Same thing would happen like it did to your sister.
Yeah, and that's basically what he did.
Sister.
He basically says she wanted to go with mom. She didn't follow the rules, and then basically is now stab your eye.
Yeah,
because he just saw that what happens if you don't follow the rules. So
yeah,
he listened, stabs his own eye, like you said, blow over the cabinet. Then he had to wake up. I think he must have passed out from pain, or maybe this once again, even if this is all real, but going off, we're going to pretend it's real regardless, at least for this discussion. He wakes up, he doesn't wake up, so I'm guessing he passed out from pain.
Yeah.
Because he stepped on his own eye. So yeah, while the TV screen's going and if mom comes home, was it a sound of like mom coming home, or it's like a woman's voice? And then because the phone's off the hook as well.
What I don't know if you have differently, because like I said, I paid less attention because it was super hard for me, but you better than
I
me.
think there's a sound of someone coming home or something like that. Like just a sound of something along those lines.
Like maybe someone pulling in the driveway or something.
It was like a door clinking and like a
the door slam.
Yeah, something like that.
Any door. I don't know if it was a front. Clearly it wasn't a front door because there's nothing there, but there was a door, clearly a door that slammed to indicate someone came in the house.
And then that's when you get we also totally skipped it, but the
police, the phone call, police scene. That's where I'm at right now.
So after the scene, I totally forgot. We also did the whole bunny disappearing thing.
Oh,
which had its own kind of possible meaning about what the entity is and does, because it's that, and then you hear Kevin like panic breathing and like the stuffy disappears and stuff, like taking everything he loves away kind of thing.
Yeah. So back out of the cartoon, which I thought was pretty unique, and I really liked the system of this cartoon. So before I bring it to inspector, there's a bunny rabbit in a screen that legit was just moving his hands and making himself disappear
over and over.
And it kept replaying to that specific scene, thinking if it was an entity, that was the entity. And it's pretty much taking everything and making it all disappear. And like I said, this was over like I would say 5 or 6 times that we kept watching it.
I think more than 5 or 6. I think he did it like 10.
And every scene, it was just him just closing his hand and he alone just disappears.
Yeah.
So I think either entity or I'm thinking neglect in that one.
Yeah.
Because boom. Yeah. Vanish type thing. One, and
maybe the mom leaving.
Maybe the mom is
abandonment,
but also onto the toys leaving and vanishing and stuff like that. So like I'm thinking more, me personally, I'm thinking more entity because, like I said, the entity could be the rabbit.
Yeah, I'm so far. I mean, I would say I'll give a final thing. I'm leaning more like 75-25 for like this is an entity, because otherwise it's like what scenario would be used to describe both Kaylee and Kevin both having a particular moment? You know what I'm saying? Like by themselves. because they're not, if it's a dream, why would we see through Kaylee's lens? That doesn't make any sense because Kevin's not involved in the scene. So how would we see? It would be Kevin seeing it. So let's finish it up and then we can decide.
And I want to point out, I apologize to anyone. I didn't take nearly as much notes. I didn't really pay attention as much because, like I said, the wonder of my ADHD. So Sean has the best key points to the notes. So whatever he says, I'm just going to I'm try recapping the scene in my head, which is going to be really hard for me, but I'm going to try doing it. I have the notes on my phone, but they're not nearly as good as Sean's.
Yeah. I mean, that's fair. Like I said, no hard feelings about that. Again, I mean, I have a bad way of putting that. Like I said, it's not, it doesn't feel, even though it's linear, it doesn't feel linear for a movie almost. Yeah. Anyway, I'm just going to go ahead and cut right to, so we go back to the Bundy scene. Once again, it's a weird scene. Don't know what to interpret that as necessarily, unless it's like an entity or maybe abandonment. But we get to the phone's at the hook and we get Kevin calling the police and it's like a whole police scene. And it's like him describing, and the police officer seems genuinely concerned. Like, how are we going to do this? And he's telling him that he's made himself alone and there's no, he's bleeding and he feels sick and that kind of stuff. Which, once again,
clearly lost.
He did it.
Loss of blood.
Yeah, he definitely did it. And the cop. So this is another debate that Christian Green had this paper where we were driving earlier. The cop is part of the entity or if it's an actual phone call and he just doesn't know. There's so many ways to look at the scene. Me personally, I don't think it fits to be an entity. If no other reason, for one, it doesn't have any moment of like, this isn't a police officer to like mess with them, kind of thing. And also when he walks away, you can hear him walking away.
And the cop is still
he's still saying hello, that kind of thing. And you could just interpret like entities.
There's messy.
But it felt like a genuine moment to me. I interpreted it as he actually this is what we discussed. Either possibility A or B. I'm going to go B because, I'm going to A, my most likely. B, he gets a hold of the police, calls 911, but he's a 4-year-old and has no idea how to explain where he lives. He has no idea how to explain what's happening around him or any of that kind of,
because he brought up, he's like, the doors and windows are gone in my house.
And he's like, what are you talking about? And the kid's just like, they're gone.
Yeah.
So like, how would you explain that? I don't even know how I would explain that. He's almost 30 years old. I definitely don't know how a 4-year-old will explain that and explain their situation to anyone. So there's that interpretation. Maybe he just kind of gave up. I'm going to say, why would he leave unless the entity kind of made itself known to him? Because once again, it doesn't show him on the phone or anything. It's a moment of a phone call and then you hear leave and it's like, okay. And so maybe that entity presents itself and the kid was like, what's it, following the rules 13?
I was just about to bring that up. Following the rules.
I gotta go. My interpretation was that for A was, because of a particular scene later with the toy phone, is that he doesn't actually even know how to call 911. He doesn't know how to get a hold, because once he got a phone number to be tracked, and that's how you can argue maybe it was the entity.
Yeah.
I personally think that he just picked up a toy phone and just was, I want to say playing because he's afraid now, but he's like, he's imagining himself being able to talk to a police officer.
Yeah.
Like because remember the phones didn't work. At the beginning of the movie, Kaylee tried to use the phone. The phone didn't work.
Yeah.
So I think he just picked up a toy phone and it's just like, basically, I wish I could talk to a police officer and they could come save me. Like kind of, that kind of thing. To me, that's how I interpret it as, it's just like a moment of this kid so helpless, has no idea what to do. He sees a toy phone and he's just like, because it's traumatizing, and I'm not saying I would pick up a toy phone to try it or anything like that, but a 4-year-old with no concept how to handle that kind of situation, and just maybe I can just pretend for a second that I'm not completely alone. And I think later when they do the jump scare with the phone, which is also a great scene.
I love that.
So they do like a cool camera angle where they do like it's very dark and then light flickers and it's like a phone just between it to the viewer. It's a really, really cool jump scare. I'll rate that too later. But I think that scene is supposed to be a mockery of Kevin. I think that if an entity is there, it's saying, aha, look at that toy phone. You tried to make a call to a police officer.
And it jumps with a demonic face.
Yeah.
Those are like lunges with a demonic face.
Yeah.
That's why I thought it was an entity. But then I'm going to go back to the phone call.
Yeah.
I think I'm going to stay at a point where rules, he follows the rules. He wants to follow them so he doesn't get hurt. So I'm thinking it's abuse. Mainly because of the fact that if you're getting abused, and I don't want to bring this up to anybody because it sucks, but if you're getting abused and they keep doing it, the one thing they don't want to do is get in trouble with the police.
Yeah.
So let's say you're getting abused and you want to call the police. That just makes it so much, he or she's gonna get much angrier, get more violent with you. And that's what I think it was. The abuse that the kid was taking, he probably saw like the mom or dad, and he probably thought, oh, like, I got caught trying to talk to the police.
Yeah.
So he like instantly dropped the phone and walked away.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, that's fair because I mean, the scene is very like, he said no one's home kind of thing. But like, once again, you're interpreting it your own way. And it's like, you kind of like a flow. It's hard. It's really hard. Yeah. So there's also a scene where I think it says you did that about the eye or something. Like something happens, and I have literally quotes, you did that after the phone call.
Yeah, I think it's when he stabbed after the phone call.
The chicken says you did that because he says something about something, and then the entity laughs.
And he's yeah, then he goes, your sister didn't want to follow the rules. She wanted her mom, so I took her mouth.
Yeah.
Because that's what I have wrote it down on here. I said, it says voice still.
Yeah, Kaylee didn't do what she was told, as I have in a quote. So that's where it comes in. Yeah.
Yeah, well, I have the voice still children. They took Carrie's mouth away because she wanted her mom.
Yeah, so he probably had discussion off screen about the eye stuff.
Yeah.
And or just saw it and like about Kaylee, and the entity basically laughed at him and said, yeah, because he didn't follow my rules. And he kind of implies like you're doing the same, kind of, you know?
Yeah.
So it's like sitting on the floor. Yeah, he took Kaylee's mouth, is what the entity said. Like he took Kaylee's mouth.
But she took just
then he
says,
says,
the mouth. He took the eyes as well.
Yeah. Then he tells him to go upstairs. And that's what Kevin does because he was just told that if you don't follow the rules, he can take away your mouth and stuff. So
then it flashes 572 days.
Yeah. Well, first we have promises to protect Kevin. So there's it's like he promises to protect him or something, and then there's a big bang sound.
Would be pretty weird for.
Yeah, and he's also on the ceiling. The kid's at the ceiling. I think at that point they show like the camera.
Yeah,
it floats and he's on the ceiling. And once again, this is all just like how to even interpret this. It just feels like a fever dream a little bit, which leads more to like the dream aspect if you see it that way. It shows like getting farther from the door, and yeah, it's like the creepy toys on the floor on the screen. It's getting farther away. And then 572 days. I don't think there's a single thing that fits for me that fits those days in there, except for maybe a coma angle.
That's what I was thinking of, more of a coma angle, but like I said, doesn't really fit well with Haley's perspective of the problem. The problem with that being the coma.
Yeah, like that's the thing about this movie is like I would, if it wasn't for the Kaylee stuff, I'd be full on board with coma him. Yeah, going Promised in the Land style. We're gonna get in that route of like this. It's just like kid having these absolute terrifying nightmares, no escape, and he's stuck in this of horror because he's passed out in a coma. But how we get in Kaylee scenes, I just don't understand that part. Maybe if you just look past that and you see that it's so hard to interpret it, is what I'm trying to say.
It's really, really hard.
Yeah, I don't see any other way you can interpret the 572 days though. That's a long time. We're going over about 2 years. So I don't even know. I have no interpretation of that myself other than the coma one, which I think for me doesn't fit otherwise. So it's like, I don't know. Like I said, it's more of the journey, the more of the pieces coming together in the way you look at it rather than the movie.
The only thing, like I said, that I say the 572 days is a coma.
Yeah.
But like what I don't understand about the coma thing is there's so much more going on that scales it less than a coma. You know what I mean? Because there's still self-harm, there's still the Haley thing with the deformed face and stuff like that. And the mom scene with the bed. So like I can't really pinpoint it. I can't pinpoint it to coma.
Yeah.
Because like I said, there's still some more like strange. There's still the strange voices. There's still, there's still more. I've got more reasons of neglect and child abuse than it is with coma.
Yeah, I mean, they could abuse him into a coma, and maybe that's why he's feeling these things. I also want to say base is disappearing. So I will say, just from my own, like, kind of previous study and stuff of what I've done. So it is well known that the first thing you forget about someone is their face. So it's kind of like after not seeing somebody for a certain amount of time, you kind of don't remember what they look like anymore. So you can't like put it in your brain what their faces look like. Like you can't.
Okay.
And kind of like similar to dreams, when you like look at people that aren't family and stuff, they don't really have faces because you're not building them a face kind of thing. They're just kind of extras in your story, so to speak. And maybe that's what Kaylee is. Maybe he's been in a coma for so long, he doesn't remember what Kaylee looks like anymore.
And then that's
maybe that's why they don't see her face. And The reason I say this is because there's a doll later that's shown, and the doll doesn't have a face. Maybe he doesn't know what a Barbie doll looks like anymore. Like he can't picture a Barbie's face anymore, just like he can't picture Kaylee's face or his mother's face. Like all the faces around him have disappeared because he's been, in a coma for so long. And now my interpret of the ending shot being like this weird face in the darkness where he says, "For you," because maybe that because a male mixed, people have been hinting it's a kind of like a male mixed with a female face. Maybe it's just both his parents in one face, and he's trying really hard to remember what they look like. And maybe the "who are you" is a sign that he failed. He doesn't even recognize his parents anymore.
Yeah.
They're just not like he doesn't have it in his brain to like even imagine what his parents or sister.
See, I knew nothing about the face things, and then it was into my decision. That's why I'm glad you brought it up, so I have a better point of view of.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, I don't fully know the answer. I'm just trying to argue for that perspective.
Bringing up, you lose the recognition of faces over time. See, I knew nothing about that.
Yeah.
That would make more sense with the coma and like the mom without, the sister without a face and stuff like that, or the doll on the face. It makes sense more of that now because there's so much about the reasoning of comas for that. Yeah. I'm sorry. I'm just, I'm off.
Yeah, I get what you're saying. You're trying to say is it makes sense. It has more of an argument for a coma if that's a factor.
The only thing that I don't like about that is the fact that you see this perspective of Kale.
Yeah, that's my hang up too. I'm fully with you on that one. I don't think
it ever confirms that he was in the same room with her, like went out with her or anything.
No, it does, because the bedroom scene when he looks out of the bed, she goes down, like he like calls for her downstairs, or she goes downstairs to see him.
Okay, so yeah,
so that whole scene was just her.
Yeah, I don't understand it.
I don't know what it could be. Like I said, I don't know if it's supposed to even have an answer, to be honest. Yeah, so that's that stuff. The face stuff happens, and it's already happened, and then we get to this scene of, I think it shows Kaylee slowly disappearing. I think it's Kaylee.
Yeah,
there's like Kaylee. A figure. I believe it's Kaylee slowly disappearing, and that's where you could argue she died. It's like she's gone, faded out into existence.
Or it could be just him just losing memory.
Or even there's like a light, right? Just such a weird movie. And then it's like the weird house and music, and you get like the flashlight clicking, and that's when you get like the creepy phone scene as described. I'll probably put it in as an image if people see it.
Really good scare.
Yeah, actually, I don't even know if you rated the other. So Bedroom with Mom, this is a big one. So Bedroom with Mom, I put 7.
I put 6.
Okay, Kaylee, no highs, I put 4.
I put same as me, 4.
Okay, and I put Phone in Darkness, I put a 5.
It was just a nice jump scare, And
So it wasn't
wasn't expecting a horror-y being demonic face like that.
Yeah, that was good. Anyway, you ever get that scene? Like I said, don't want to skip it. That's when you get the doll in the face too. So you look around with the flashlight, and that's when you see the doll in the face.
Yeah.
So once again, could just remember just losing faces and stuff. Oh, and then the photos start blurring and missing heads. So there's another component. Remember those pictures and stuff?
Yeah.
And there's like heads missing, like the body's there, but the head's missing.
Yep.
And they're blurred faces, more leaning towards that like idea of like he's forgetting what they look like and what his family looked like and stuff like that, because he's been a couple of 572 days, maybe.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If I can explain.
If I can explain Kaylee, if they just didn't have a Kaylee scene, if it was just Kevin in that scene, I'd be like, yeah, fair enough. I got it. Coma for sure. Well, I don't think they wanted you to be able to point.
I think it was being made together. I think it was childhood abuse.
Yeah.
At this point, I think it's childhood abuse / coma.
Yeah, I mean, it could be because, like, also after this is the blood splatter, and it's like you hear that scream, the blood splatters, and it goes back, and it keeps going back, and maybe that's when he fell down the stairs, or was pushed down the stairs, or was beat up so bad that he went into a coma.
Right.
Maybe he got knocked into a coma, and that's like the last thing he remembers is his blood splattering on the floor, or they're just showing us the viewers like his blood getting splattered all because he fell down, or you know what I'm saying? Or like I said, it could be interpreted as like the mother being abused in front of them, and they just looked out in the corner and they saw blood splatter before from the mother or something. So many ways to look at the movie, but otherwise, what does that scene mean other than just happening? Kevin looks for Kaylee, and then you see another thing. Kevin asks Kaylee, looking for Kaylee, and asks to watch a happy show, even though it's been cartoons the whole time.
Yeah. And then it switches to like a good environment, doesn't it? Where like the music is like calm. I think like things.
No.
Well, I thought things like slowly went back together.
No, I think that no, because that's the end of the movie. He asked about something good after this blood splattering, which could relate to maybe abuse happening with mom, and they're going off to like, can we watch something happy?
Yeah.
Can we like do something happy? They might have like a happy. You might be right about some kind of weird happiness. This is the end of the movie where they showed, you guys told that there's a face in the static This says go to sleep.
Yeah, and then he
And
dropped.
then the kid said, no, the kid says, no, the kid says, what's your,
Oh yeah,
what's your name? And then it cuts. It's done.
Yeah,
So that's also maybe like he starts waking up maybe or something. And this entity, so to speak, is maybe his coma. Like maybe that's the last thing he saw or something. You know, I have no idea. So that's the end of the movie.
There's just so much.
Yeah. I would say once again, I went too long. I think it's an hour and 40 or so. I think at least 10 minutes can be cut out of it personally. Get like an hour 30 in a sweet spot. And honestly, the beginning, there's just so many wall shots. It's just to build the eerie atmosphere, but I don't think we need them. I think we could have shortened it up a little bit, is my point. I do think there's more story to be told in some capacity, but I don't want to say add more for sure. I think it's already a long movie.
Yeah.
So if anything, I would prefer they use what they didn't use and just did some more stuff in that. It doesn't matter. I will add, I added my own last thoughts, was a very original movie. I don't think I saw a movie in any recent memory of mine as a movie that's similar at all to Skinamarink.
Yeah.
Is a very original. I can always say that. Smart horror kind of genre. But yeah, maybe I wish there were more scares. I put that as well.
Yeah, I put more scares and I put less static sound and less static visually.
So let's go with our final thoughts here. We'll go ahead and interpret the way we want to interpret. We'll put our stamp on our personal interpretations after maybe this discussion. Is the entity real? I think it's complicated, but if I had to pick a side, I would say yes, this is some kind of weird situation with these kids.
Yeah.
Do I like the explanation? No. Do I think it's a better story to be told of like just trauma? Yes. I'm just saying in the lens of the movie, I'm going to go with yes, this weird entity's real. Or at least like is the threat of the movie by you? What do you think?
I was saying an entity. I think if I'm going,
Or you think it's like a metaphor with the parents or something?
I'm thinking metaphor for the parents.
Okay.
Because, like I said, I know we're deep. I've seen a lot of deep movies and how they like to put harm on other people. I think most of that, what the demon was saying and doing, I think it was perpetrating either the mom or the dad.
Yeah. So then you think the demon's real?
Yes.
Okay. That's what I asked.
Yeah.
And he says, no, he thought it was a metaphor for the parents.
I believe the demon is real.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
Okay. You're just saying you were thinking they were doing stuff by the parents, like saying like they're the parents kind of thing.
No, I think it's real.
Okay. Yeah. I think there are several ideas. I do like I don't like it because I think it's a cheap way to describe a movie. But him being in a coma makes sense, except for the Kaylee scene. But if I were to cut that scene out from the movie, which I wouldn't want to because it's my favorite scene, but if I had, I had to pick a scene, I would cut that to make it fit the narrative of like coma. So I think the ending does a really good job explaining that part as if, like I said, basis is appearing and stuff. Like I think that relates well to that concept. If I had to interpret that way, I wouldn't hate it necessarily. I just think there's too much missing for me to think that way. Trauma and stuff, I can also see. I think there are missing components with that too. Only, I guess, I don't know, maybe it's just a little too subtle of what those things would mean, or, what I'm saying? But I do see it. I think that's also a pretty solid explanation. I agree with you on that one. An entity just messing with these kids, I could also see too. They could just be writing a story about it does feel smarter than that. Also, you can just say, well, it's smart for making this style of movie, but they also wanted an antagonist to kind of amplify these components, and so, which could kind of lead to my idea of like just child fear could be an entity, like Little Nightmares style, like the game.
Yeah.
So maybe it's just some weird entity doing this to these kids that's amplifying these fears, and that's this device, like a storytelling device, to show us those fears and putting us in those shoes. So I don't think that's a bad way to interpret it. I still stand by that's a good one. I think there's some other good ones. I've also, which kind of similar to physical, I've also seen some possible stuff of like sexual components. I mean, I once again could see it. I could see how a person who maybe lived through that trauma or just is well aware of it or whatever component could see it that way. I think it's one of the looser ones. I think it feels more physical abuse if there's abuse to it. And neglect, combined. I do see maybe this parent separating and that being the trauma, but once again, it kind of relates to other parts of trauma that might be there. Like just an overarching trauma. Like that's just one of the things that they could help us relate to it. I'm sorry, I just talked a whole bunch. What do you think? Any other theories you've heard or possibilities?
I specifically heard I looked it up as well. I don't want to think about opinions about it, but a lot of people are saying typical what we were talking about, trauma, child abuse, child neglect, trauma, demonic entities and stuff like that. I personally think, now that you also brought up the faces, I think besides the Kaylee's perspective, I think it's coma. I think that it's not just coma. I think it's child abuse, trauma. Then
He's living the trauma in
he's
the coma.
living in the coma because I believe that the father had to do something apart with it in the beginning.
Yeah.
Because he acted way, he was like, oh, he just tripped, no stitches, like type thing. Like, oh, he just fell on the stairs. And I think that one, especially with the blood coming out at the end, I think that might be the point of, okay, so he's in the coma now, especially with the 572. I think that was how many days it's been since he's been in the coma. The only thing that, like I said, the only thing I don't really understand about it is the Kayleys. If they would have took that out, I will 100% say coma.
Yeah, I do remember another one. I've also had somewhere in purgatory. Once again, feels like a lazy explanation, but it does come up for a lot of movies. Maybe this one's earned. So purgatory being that space between life and death, or heaven or hell. And you could argue for the Kaylee scene getting woke up to go do with a brother. Maybe there's something along the lines of maybe the dad killed them, or they're both dead in this house, and that's why there's no doors or windows to leave. They're trapped here in like their own between heaven and hell kind of space, or that kind of thing where they're stuck with this weird entity that's toying with them, and they're just in this weird afterlife state where they've been killed, so they can't escape, and they're being tortured, and so to speak, and then living those traumas. And that's why both of them are there, not just coma, where they're there for 572 days. Like this, the 572nd day of them being there, stuck in this weird hell kind of thing in purgatory. Once again, I
can kind of see it.
I see it. I just don't like it.
I think it would be too much of it,
Yeah, to me, it feels too cheap. Okay, yeah, the dad's just a straight villain and just killed his kids. Okay, now they're stuck in this entity.
Yeah, make a little sense more of it, because clearly can't leave with the doors and windows disappearing and the toilets disappearing. So clearly there's something mentally going on with them. So I'm thinking more, all this stuff is disappearing, and Kaylee getting like her face removed, but she still sees the mom. She still sees the mom and dad in the room together, and she sees the mom disappear. So I think it's mentally stuck in their head. I don't personally think it's they're both dead and they're just roaming around the house. I don't think it's that, and I'm not crapping on the idea, but I don't think it is, because, like I said, the coma thing, like where the faces come out missing. Like I said, this movie is really hard for me to
understand. Yeah, it's a lot of thought too. It's just a lot of, those are some just popular options. I mean, I would love to hear anyone else's suggestion of it.
Yeah.
And maybe the reason I would, like I said, I would read whatever you type up. I will sit down, I promise, and I will read that whole thing. And it's a very meaningful conversation kind of movie. How people look at it and why. I would love to hear people's outlook on this movie if they've seen it. Overall, would I recommend it? I think it's tough. I think I would recommend it to the right person. It doesn't feel like a movie I'd recommend it to anybody.
Yeah.
I wouldn't go to my family and recommend this movie. None of our brothers would want to watch this movie. It's very smart horror, like I said. I think you got to go to the right people. And hopefully this did a good enough job where if you are interested, you should check it out. And if it turned you away, that's fair. I think we did a good enough job explaining what this movie is. So if it doesn't sound appealing, fair enough. So maybe we'll get into, where closing thoughts and stuff. Maybe our recommendations. Yours?
I wrote down VHS and Paranormal Activity.
Yeah, that's fair. I put Blair Witch. I think that feels the closest with the camera, weird angles and stuff. It's weird that we did like more found footage stuff. I don't like those options.
It's just super tough.
We want to put a recommendation no matter what. I only put one, and I don't know if you noticed. I usually say like 3. Maybe even more on my end. I had one because I didn't even want to recommend Blair Witch. It didn't feel at all like Skinamarink.
It's just super hard because there's really no movie like this.
Yeah.
Like the environment was different from any other movie. The thought process that you have to actually put into it.
Maybe like a poltergeisty kind of thing. Like maybe this movie would be kind of like a weird, you look at it that way of like them in this weird ghost dimension. Like I said, almost purgatory or ghost dimension where they're not in the house anymore, and they're like kind of like purgatory, but also kind of like just poltergeist when they're stuck in that house. It's same kind of concept, really. If you look at it that way, which again, fair enough. If you look at it that way, I don't like that explanation, but I understand it. Yeah, I mean maybe that's a decent one. They're not similar though in movie fashion. It's just maybe your ideas into that. That's what this is. It could be an interesting look of like, this is this take on this movie and this take on this movie, and they're very different, very very different, but they are kind of doing the same thing. I don't know.
And it's just really hard with this movie because that's the thought process and the story of it can go in any direction. So we can say, okay, demonic, okay, we can recommend this, okay, but if it's not like that, then we can't really recommend it.
It's how you look at
it. Yeah, it's pretty much in how you look at the movie.
Your recommendation recommendations should be based off of what you interpret the movie, I guess.
And also,
They-
I said VHS because of VHS. That's a whole movie about if you get let's take camera thing. I think
Yeah.
a lot of people have seen VHS, and it's about random short clips about someone with a video camera. So that's what I thought it was, especially with the static sound and static love. Maybe just bring out.
Yeah, like a found footage. I mean, I will say I've never done this, and I kind of want to taint like the idea that I do this for the podcast because I come up with my ideas myself, and then if I want to look into stuff and see what other people's thoughts, provoke my own thoughts, I do that. I always do things first myself, and I don't take something like recommendation. I wouldn't take another recommendation somebody else had. That's not fair. I want to think of my own. But I did look up for this movie because I had no freaking idea.
Yeah,
I did look up like movies that we'd recommend if you like Skinamarink and all of them. And we named
Three out of them.
three, and we named you don't say Paranormal Activity yet. So all three of those movies were in like a 9-item list, and
Yeah.
once I didn't feel like we're way
What
like I
about-
think the recommendations ours were closer. Like those three that we picked that were also on that list were much closer than the other
'Cause I think
things on that
wasn't
list.
one of them like Cabin in the Woods and stuff like that, or like
Probably,
it was a couple of them that we know, but clearly wasn't
yeah.
aiming towards
Yeah.
it.
And so, like I said, didn't take anything, but it's cool that we kind of
We hit
thought
the
we
ball
got
point.
three of the what we interpreted as like the best options of that list. That's kind of fun that we got on as well. Yeah, that's Skinamarink.
I do want
I
to
don't.
say,
Do we have anything else to say? Oh, should there be sequels and stuff? I
No.
put no prequel, no sequel, no remake.
no remake.
That's none of it.
And sorry, and I do want to take a second. We've had a lot of people saying to talk more, and this episode was really hard for me to talk more because I didn't understand the movie. You know, I wasn't focused in. I didn't see the movie the way that John seen it a lot better than me because, like I said, he can watch it better because he doesn't have nearly enough as the ADHD as I do.
Yeah, I mean, we just in that and like Christian is a Hollywood horror guy, and I deep into horror. I like
Yeah.
to watch.
I'm
So
also
many genres.
very new at
Yeah.
doing the horror thing. So Sean is years ahead of me about this stuff. So I do apologize to whoever wants me to talk more. Promise I'm going to get better at it. I work with it. And eventually, at the same energy as Sean does, Sean takes the candle on the cake and cooking wise.
I'm also so repetitive and feel the need to talk and fill the void at every second. And that's also a problem. But I try my best to fight that and give Christian a chance. And sometimes I don't. And that's why I always tell him to interrupt me because I don't get offended by that. But I think this movie is just challenging.
And I am not rude enough to interrupt people. So it's really a 1-1 over here.
Yeah. Well, this movie was challenging regardless. I think this movie might be the most challenging movie we probably do together for, if not the longest time, a pretty long time. I don't see myself recommending. This movie was complicated for me, and I think this movie is good for that in a lot of ways. Not arguing it's not, but it's one of one. I don't think this is this is so thought provoking, and other movies have those components. I think this is so heavy on that.
Yeah.
This might be single-handedly one of the most challenging movies I've watched in years, kind of thing. It's very not it's challenging for me because of trauma, but because it's so smart. It's so hard to. You have to do your kind of like I said, do your homework for the movie afterwards. What do I even want to say about this? You know, because we can't just talk about the plot because. When you're looking at walls, that means nothing if we're describing them looking at walls, but it's supposed to be the atmosphere for the movie. It's a very different thing than watching the movie. It's challenging.
And
so
it was a lot harder. It was a lot.
Yeah.
It was not more difficult for me.
Yeah.
I'm like Sean said, I'm a Hollywood.
Hollywood.
I like the scary one, the one that like doesn't have any meaning. It's just scary just because it wants to be scary. Like it doesn't. Most horror movies that I've seen doesn't have a lore to it.
Yeah.
Like Conjuring didn't have a lord. Pretty much didn't have a lord to it. It pretty much was okay. This is getting haunted. Let's go fix the problem and then get 7,000 jump scares.
Yeah.
That's what I like. Sean likes the meaning behind the movie, regardless if his meaning is to believe, like different from others. He still enjoys it. He still loves it. I want to get into that type of thing where I watch movies for the meaning as well instead of just how.
We'll get there. We'll get there together. Well, that's Skinamarink. That was challenging, very challenging. I'm glad we took it on for sure.
Yeah.
I think of all the movies, it's the least safe option. I really appreciate. Shout out to NRK 96. NRK 96 will recommend it first. I don't think anyone else recommended it at all. Yeah, but
we got a couple in the
we had
third
real life
person.
people as well recommended it to us, and I owned it for a year or so, where I was gonna watch it eventually.
But we'll shoot it. We're shooting.
We're
now.
shooting the person who gave us the one that, because we wanted to pick exclusively just for people who've commented and said,
Comments,
yeah, to watch a movie. We promise to keep looking and still pick movies though. So this isn't the one and done. We saw a couple. We have Cabin in the Woods. We've seen Silver Bullet, that kind of thing. And post more, by all means. Heck, even if your only post is like the name of 6 movies, okay, we'll look at each one and consider it. So
yeah,
that's fine by me. But yeah, that's Skinamarink. Challenging, fun to do. Not saying it's glad it's over, but I'm glad we accomplished it. That's its own thing. Next couple things we have are we're doing Sinners. I think we've mentioned it before. We delayed it because we wanted to keep things a little more on track. We do still plan on doing Sinners next, if possible.
It's next.
It's tough because of our timeline where we are. Obviously, we put this out later, but where we are, Jaws is going to be coming out in theaters soon, and that's Christian's pick, and we want to watch that in theaters. So if that's the next movie and it just knocks the order on things, no big deal. We'll just, we'll move on from there. But yeah, that's the plan. Jaws and Sinners are like the next kind of confirmed two.
And they're really 2 really big movies in my opinion.
Yeah, Sinners is going to be fun.
And Jaws, I think Jaws is going to be a debate. I think Jaws is going to be a debate.
Hey everybody, it's Sean from the Houses of Terror podcast. We just had a little error at the end of the last episode. Hello everybody, this is Sean from the Houses of Terror podcast. Skinamarink had a weird ending. The audio kind of messed up. My good number. Hello everybody, this is Sean from the Houses of Terror podcast. I'm only adding this part here because the conclusion of this episode had some audio issues. The whole episode is there, rest assured, but the conclusion statement for us is gone. So I just wanted to add that here to apologize and to assure you that you didn't miss anything if it ends abruptly. Thank you. I think I hit record just fine, so we'll just do an audio check for ourselves real quick. Testing 1, 2, 3. We'll do it's a routine.
Intro.
Hey, how's it going?
How's it going today, Sean?
Going right over here. Just gonna talk normal for a little bit. Try to go a little bit louder. See how that goes. Go a little bit quieter.
We're the same thing. Talk normal. When today, Sean, I'm gonna talk really loud. Go really quiet, and hopefully this one's a good one. By 17,000 times. Oh.